Welcome to Cord Cutting This Week, number 21, the show where I give you my opinion on some of the biggest cord cutting stories from the past week. This week there's been a ton of news, so much that I couldn't get it all in. But I wanted to know, what was your favorite story from this past week around cord cutting? What story do you think will have the greatest impact? Let us know. This week we're going to be covering the best indoor antennas according to Consumer Reports, PBS, why they're not streaming on many live TV streaming services, Google's new Android TV player, Espn launch, and Amazon's offering free streaming with ads. So let's kind of dive in here and I'll get to what I think of some of these most important topics from the past week. Number one, Consumer Reports has come out with a report for the best indoor antennas of 2018. They did this a few different ways. I wanted to announce the best antennas according to Consumer Reports, but I also wanted to talk about something interesting in their testing. Something that I thought that really was important for all cord cutters to know when and how they tested it and what they found out. First of all, right off the bat, the best antennas were, in third place was the Clearstream 2 Max. This is from Antennas Direct. It's the largest antenna, but it's a powerful antenna. It really does a good job. Number 2 is the Winegard Flatwave. This is the flat antenna from Winegard. They've done a really good job of building good quality flat antennas. A lot of people really like them, and Consumer Reports says they're the second best antenna out there for indoor. Number 1 is the Mohu Relief. Now the Mohu Relief is their 40-mount indoor antenna. Antenna Direct said it was their best in overall testing. Now I'll put a link to it in the show notes, and all these stories will have links to them in the show notes for more details, so you can read about how they tested it. But in the short end, they said the Mohu Relief did the best job across all their different testing for the best results possible. The thing I really want to point out here is that Consumer Reports said regardless of which antenna they used, one of the test locations, so they had it in different places around their home or the office they were testing it in, one of the locations only pulled in one station, no matter what antenna they used. If they moved it to other locations, they received 20 or more stations with the same antenna. This is really important. A lot of people just take an antenna, they throw it up on the roof, and they call it good. Okay, we've had an antenna, we put it up there, it's going to work, right? And really the positioning is important. It's important to go to a site like antennarecommendations.com, figure out where all the antennas are around your house or the transmitters. So if you know all of your transmitters for the towers are on the north side of your home, you should put that antenna on the north side of your house. That removes all the electronics, all the metal, all the wood between you and the antenna as much as possible. Putting it by a window is one of the best options. Of course, roof mount antennas will always give you best results, but for many people, indoor is all you need. Though I would highly encourage you to pay attention to the placement. Just like Antenna Direct said, in one location they only got one station. They moved it to a different one inside the same building, 20 or more stations. So keep that in mind. I just really wanted to remind people of how important it is that you just don't throw up the antenna and say, oh, it works or it doesn't work. Play around with it. Spend some time, try different places, try different windows. Remember, higher is better, closer to the window's better, farther away from electronics. So some people take the antenna, they put directly behind their TV, and that TV can act like a block for over their TV signals. Fireplaces have metal linings in them nowadays. Putting an antenna between the TV and the fireplace, some people do. Well, now you got metal on this side, and you got metal on this side, and it's blocking the signal. So keep that in mind, play around with the location, it's really important. Next up is, why is PBS not on live TV streaming services like DirecTV Now, Sling TV, PlayStation Vue, Hulu, Fubo, YouTube TV, and more? Well, we reached out to PBS, had a good conversation with them, and in short, I'll put a link to the full quote that they gave us at the bottom. But in short, the reason why they're not on many live TV streaming services is they don't have rights. Many of these state PBS stations are owned by like universities, states, local governments, and that results in them having an interesting legal issue with much of their content. Much of the content they produce, they don't own the streaming rights to. Remember, streaming of like Sling TV, PlayStation Vue, it's only been around about 3 years now. And 3 years ago, most of these contracts are older than 3 years. 3 years ago, people weren't thinking when they signed a new contract like PBS did with a content provider about streaming rights. So like the BBC, when they air those contents, I would assume with BBC BritBox and other services, the BBC maintained ownership of the streaming rights. They sold the over-the-air TV rights, maybe some of the cable rights to PBS, but they kept the streaming rights, and now PBS does not have that right. according to PES, that's an example. I'm sure there's many others. The lack of streaming rights is the reason they haven't jumped in. You may say, well, Spectrum does it on their streaming service. And that's a bit different. Spectrum is doing it as part of their cable contracts. That's why it's limited to Spectrum markets, and you have to have a Spectrum internet connection. That allows Spectrum to use rules designed for cable and use their subscription contracts for their cable service to do the streaming one they currently offer. So a little different. The next one I hear a lot of people say, well, PBS is publicly funded, right? PBS, it's public broadcast. Well, according to investors.com, only 15% of PBS's budget is federal funding. According to the Washington Post, they said the federal funding was pulled. PBS would likely continue, maybe smaller, but they would continue going. One of the main ways they get their funding is from content distribution deals. These deals with cable providers and more to buy the rights to their content. So when Comcast pays them for the rights, that's a majority of PBS's, for example, operating fund in those areas. The issue here is just getting the rights. You know, they've sold these rights, or other people have sold them rights that don't include streaming. So next time you wonder, why isn't PBS on streaming services? That's why. Look for this to change in the future. Often content deals are longer than 3 years. They're 5 years, maybe 6 year or longer deals for content. So keep in mind that you may see a big change here in the next 3 to 5 years. And many of these content deals are coming up again over the next 3 years. When they get renewed, that's when they'll be able to join streaming services. Content producers, they want to sell their content as many ways as they can. They may sell some of it to PBS, they may sell some of it to Amazon, they may sell some of it to Hulu, Netflix, overseas rights they're selling, and they sell rights individually. And PBS may have bought broadcast TV, over-the-air TV, cable rights, but they didn't buy the streaming rights that maybe Amazon owns or BritBox owns, for example. So that hopefully explains what's happening there. It's one of the more popular questions I get. Next up, Google has a new Android TV device. Now, there's been a lot of debates. Is Google have a future plan for Android TV? It seems like Android TV has been kind of just lagging out there, not really going anywhere. Android TV hasn't been main focus. Last year at their big convention, press conference, they stood up and they talked about Chromecast. And they had Android TV news, but it happened after the keynote. They had a separate sub-event that didn't get nearly as much press and about Android TV and what was new for Android TV. And this left many wondering, is Android TV got a future? Is Google serious about it? Well, now it seems like they are. The FCC just approved a new dongle with Android TV by Google. This looks like to be an official Google product, very similar in form and size and shape to the Google Chromecast. It's a dongle with a little attached HDMI, kind of a ball-esque format, flattened. It does have a remote, which is great. I know a lot of people who I talk to that don't like Chromecast, one of the complaints is you have to use a phone or tablet. A lot of people like the ability to just have a remote. Android TV does come with Chromecast built in, so it still will be a Chromecast device, just powering Android TV. So you still be able to cast from your phone and tablet if that's what you would prefer, or use a traditional screen interface with a remote and apps and so forth on the device itself. You won't need a phone or tablet there, which is great. A lot of people have told me, well, I go out on a date night with my wife, the babysitter's there, she wants to watch TV after the kids go to bed. They don't have, they're not all set up with their phone or tablet to watch content. That was one of the downsides of Chromecast. This new Chromecast looking dongle with Android TV could really solve that. FCC approval means they can start, really prepping, I should say, for the final rollout. Could maybe come out as soon as May, or at least be announced this summer, probably more likely. They could hold off and decide they want to go for a Christmas holiday season and not really make an announcement until the fall, or not sell at least into the fall, with the goal of this being a Christmas type device to sell a lot for the holidays. We'll see. It's out there, but just because they have approval doesn't mean it's coming tomorrow morning. So keep that in mind. All right, next story up of the day. ESPN is launching their ESPN Plus service. It's happening today when I'm recording this, yesterday from when I post this. Basically, ESPN Plus takes a ton of content. They have deals with Major League Soccer. So Major League Soccer, all more than 180 games and a game a day throughout the season will air on ESPN Plus. NHL hockey is going to have a game of the day throughout the regular season. MLB, Major League Baseball, 250 Major League Soccer games, 180 Major League Baseball games. I apologize. Thousands of college sports events from leagues like the MAC, Ivy League, Big West, Big South, American East, and more will all be there. Some of this content is new. So like the Major League Soccer deal, they struck a deal to stream all the Major League Soccer games. That's new. Other parts of this is content that used to be on ESPN3. So they're taking a lot of that ESPN3 content, not all of it, but looks like a vast majority of it, and putting it on ESPN Plus. Games, college baseball games that were scheduled on ESPN3 are already being changed over to ESPN Plus. Why is that happening? Well, it's because the conferences want money. I'm sure ESPN Plus pays a lot more money than ESPN3. So conferences like the MAC, the Sun Belt, the WAC, Missouri Valley Conference, instead of where you would traditionally find those games on ESPN3 with a couple on ESPN 1, 2, and so forth, now those ones that would have been on ESPN3 are going to ESPN Plus because it pays the school more money, which is not necessarily a bad thing. It's a kind of annoying thing if you're used to watching it for free on ESPN3. Yeah, it sucks. But there is a ton of other content here. No long-term contract, so if you are a college football fan, you could subscribe just during college football season and then cancel when it's over. Just keep that in mind. But ESPN3 is live, or ESPN Plus is live. I'll have a full review of it coming up very shortly on this YouTube channel. All right, last story of the day. We're kind of pounding through a lot of these. Amazon teams up with FilmRise to offer free ad-supported streaming. Now, Amazon has in the past offered free streaming of like first episodes. If you watch a quick commercial, in the past it was typically like a commercial for an Amazon original. You could watch the first episode for free of a show and then watch the rest or buy the rest. Now with their deal with FilmRise, which they expanded last month in March, they are now offering free ad-supported full seasons for shows like Third Rock from the Sun, Grace Under Fire, Highway to Heaven, My Favorite Martian, Unsolved Mysteries, and more. If you're not a Prime member, you can watch them with ads. If you are a Prime member, you can still watch them ad-free as part of your Prime membership. Now, not all FilmRise episodes or shows on FilmRise are included. Other ones, like we've tested out, like Chips and many of the reality shows, are not free. You still have to either have an Amazon Prime membership or buy them through the service. So keep that in mind. It's kind of cool to see Amazon kind of a Voodoo free on us kind of system, where Voodoo has a small catalog of free content and the rest you have to buy. It looks like Amazon is testing out the same idea that, hey, if you're a Prime member, you still get this all ad free, but if you're not, you still can get a very small catalog of content if you're willing to watch ads. And when I watched it was ads for products, not Amazon originals. They could fill in some Amazon original ones there. And it was full seasons when we tested it too. I like this idea. If you don't like ads, you can get Prime. If you're okay with ads and a smaller catalog, to be honest, it's a very small catalog compared to Amazon Prime, you can get it with ad support. It's really up to you. How do you want to access the content? Do you hate ads? Well, pay. If you don't hate ads, well, it's free. It's the whole thing. You're going to pay one way or the other. You're either paying with your eyeballs through ads, or you're paying with your wallet to watch it without ads. And I think that's a great idea. I wish more places did this, where they would say, hey, free with ads, or pay it and watch it ad-free. So it's free of either ads or it's free of money, and you just got to pick which way you like it. So keep an eye on this. They haven't made any real announcements about this. I emailed Amazon about this. They did not reply to our emails, which is very typical for a company. It could be they're testing it out. That, often when they're testing something, they want to keep it low. They often won't reply to PR or emails requesting comment on these things. So keep that all in mind. We'll update this story as we learn more. If you found a show that is 100% free on Amazon with ads, leave a comment. We would love to hear, maybe try to build up a catalog of different shows. One other note here, as best I can tell, this is only available on the web browser. It does not work on Fire TV when I tested it. Maybe it's because we had Prime. I tried to log out of that, but we'll see. Fingers crossed they roll this out to more devices in the future, but for now on the web browser you can watch it 100% free with ads. So, well, there you go. There are the top stories of today, the top 5 that I think are from the past week that are most interesting, most influential going forward. Let me know what your thoughts are on these. I'd love to know what your thoughts on these stories are. I'd love to know what stories you thought were big this week that will be very influential going forward in the world of cord cutting. Leave me a comment. Let me know what you think. We would really appreciate hearing from you. All right, that's it for today. Check back next Friday for another show every Friday. Wednesdays, pretty much every Wednesday at 8 p.m. Eastern. Sorry about this week. I posted on the little message board here on YouTube and on our social media. I was traveling this week, but we'll be back next week, Wednesday, with our typical cord cutting Q&A. Have a great week. I'll see you next week. Take care. Thank you for your support. It means the world to me.